All right. We're back at the podcast today, and we have two special guests. Two guests that have been clients of Wingman's for over probably 5 years now. Mm-hmm. And I have enjoyed working with them and watching them expand year by year. So let me introduce Tiffanie and Anthony Artis. Hello, welcome today.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
You got it. So we met probably 5 years ago because of you were getting Hal's driving school. Mm-hmm. You had taken it over and you wanted to get a new website and you wanted some help on the internet. And we met you, and then from there you've kept expanding.
Yeah.
So let's just go right into it. So 6 years ago you took over Hal's driving school. Now there was a previous owner to that.
Yeah. So the business has been around since 1957.
Okay.
We were the third owner.
Oh wow.
So the previous owner had owned it 25 years and really grew it from when it was nothing to, where we really saw an opportunity. And then of course, we've taken it from there. But
and then you took over Gene's driving school. As if one driving school wasn't enough and young kids driving in the car, you said, let me take over Gene's driving school. And that was in Matawan.
Right, yep. So we had owned Hal for a year, and the previous owners were friends, and so when the Gene's driving school owner was ready, and that had been around since 1977.
Same owner?
Different owner. They were the second. They were the second owner, and they had owned it for about 20 years.
Okay.
And he was ready to sell as well, and told his buddy that he's like, let them know, and so. Almost to the day, a year later, we bought Gene's driving school.
Wow.
So 6 and 5.
6 and 5. That's funny because the first guy was like, I got a buyer. To his buddy.
Yeah.
Like, keep him on the hook. Be nice to them.
Yeah.
That's funny. So you guys, one thing that you guys have shown me over the years is that you guys like to buy existing businesses that have cash flow coming in versus the traditional startup of grinding it out and starting to build a base. Now, what's your thought process on that?
Yeah, it's there's a saying, it's easier to buy cash flow than it is to create it. And the individuals that sold us Gene's and Howells, and even we'll get into Handyman, it gets to a point as an owner, and we're going to get there too, where if you're owner-operator, you get to a point where you just don't want to do it anymore. And if your kids don't want it, the logical thing to do is sell. Mm-hmm. So we look at businesses all the time. I get emails, calls all the time, and people have different motives for selling the business. Sometimes the business is not doing well. That's why the owner wants to sell. It's a bad business. I'm not interested in that. But if it's a genuine concern, hey, I've been running this business for 10 years, 20 years. The numbers are good. There can be improvements. We're interested, to take a look at it. And, we have a team. We have a good accountant who's also our attorney, who scrubs through all the financials, who can say, hey, this is good or this is bad, don't touch it. So,
and what I would also say is, one of the things, we don't actually consider ourselves entrepreneurs. We consider ourselves business owners. And the difference is an entrepreneur, they're grinding away, they're starting from scratch, it may take 5 years, 10 years for it to see it, versus if you buy an existing business that you can grow, develop, it really speaks to the wheelhouse of where we've come from in our careers, working on businesses, working with teams, selling, marketing, all those things. And so it doesn't necessarily matter what the business is, what the industry is, the knowledge that you have as a business owner will continue to drive those businesses irregardless or irrelevant of the industry. And so that's why, and the other piece is, if we're not young, so who wants to start from scratch? Who wants to start over? Especially if you're leaving corporate America, you have to replace income. And so the easiest and fastest way to do that is by purchasing a business that's from the day one has cash flow.
That's a very good way to think about it. And now you guys both came from corporate America, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you miss it?
No, I don't miss it at all, but I value what it taught me and allowed us to, succeed in what we're doing now. The valuable lessons, even I tell my son, I tell young people, you have to go into corporate America to learn. Even though, you're doing one, I'm in sales, she was in marketing. Now we're doing it all. I'm in charge of sales, I'm in charge of marketing, I'm in charge of payroll, I'm in charge of HR. But to see the structure, so even regardless of the size, you got to have some type of structure, understand the structure, understand how to manage, because you got employees, you got to manage personalities. And at the end of the day, I'm in sales. I'm a sales guy. Everybody's in sales, whether they know it. That's my philosophy. And you got to, corporate America teaches you, it taught us a hell of a lot. And, we're still putting in the same amount of hours.
Yeah. But
At
you're
least
doing it
it's
for
yours.
yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And you're doing it for yourself. I think what corporate America taught me is invaluable. The skill set, how to work with people, how to talk to people, how to sell to people, how to create an environment that people want to work at. If you look at our teams today, they're 99% of the same teams that we did when we bought Howell and Jeans 6 years ago. And that speaks to, I don't know if we would have had that had we not had the benefit of working and managing teams for 25 plus years.
Yep. You don't look like you could have been managing teams for 25 plus years.
Yeah.
This guy over there, I see the grays in the beard, so I'm going to say he can.
That didn't start until 6 years ago.
Yes, I would say.
Absolutely. That definitely comes with owning your own business.
Yes.
Call it an entrepreneur or not, you get more grays when that happens.
Yeah, I'm like, you have a few yourself.
I have a lot.
You got it blended in quite nice.
Facebook has those memories that I saw one like yesterday that was from 11 years ago, and I was like, wow, my hair looked a lot different, a lot darker.
Yes.
Well, you remember when Obama was first in office, he was, all dark, and then by the end of the 8 years, he had
too much
8 years is a long time in that job.
Yeah,
Job I never wanted.
Yes,
Too much
exactly.
thinking.
Yeah, so
Oh man, that's so funny.
But you and I talked. We were in the telecom zone. That's for go-getters.
Yeah.
It's very rewarding. But you learn a lot. You get in management and you understand. You get in a position. You're in a corporation where you're hiring people, firing people, making decisions on behalf of the corporation. Now we're doing it on our own.
But it's not a nice little portfolio of companies you've acquired over the time. So let's add your next one, which you're branded for with your hat.
Yes.
Mr. Handyman.
Mr.
And that's a
Handyman.
franchise.
That's a franchise.
yeah.
How many franchises are there of Mr. Handyman?
So there's over in I would say nationally, and they also have some in Canada. Over 400.
Wow, great.
They're nationally owned, nationally managed but locally owned, and we own the territory of North Monmouth and East Middlesex counties, and we bought that as an existing business as well. It had been around previously for 15 years from the first owner, and they had grown it to a million plus business. And so when we took it over, we saw a big opportunity to be able to drive and develop it. What we find is that the similar, one of the things that actually has worked for all those businesses that we purchased is that they were run by husband and wife teams. So every business that we bought have been husband and wife teams, which is quite interesting.
So when I sell you Wingman, I got to get my wife involved in the
wife,
business for a few years
exactly.
before I turn it over to you?
And so what it taught us is that there is a business model that includes that, along with buying an existing business. There's also about who's the management team behind it and how do you make sure that it's a solid business. And it helps, I think, that you have both yin and yang.
Okay, great. And now, how that's been in business? You bought that business 2 years ago?
Yeah, a little over 2 years ago.
And you're in an interesting real estate market here in Monmouth and Ocean County, New Jersey, or Monmouth and Middlesex County, New Jersey, with a low inventory. So how has that affected that business?
One of the pivots that we're making is into the commercial realm.
Okay.
There's some commercial accounts we have that we work. It doesn't necessarily fill all of the void, but it is good activity when it's hot. So to your point, the market is coming back. It's not overnight. There are people that are sitting on their equity. They can't wait to get their equity and run to Florida or North Carolina or South Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
And, how long can they wait? I think they're really at the end of that. They're like,
They're ready.
they're ready. They're like,
The bags are packed. They're out the front door. They're like, all right, once this interest rate goes down a little bit, we're out of here.
yeah, so, and I think people will have to come to grips that, it's like I have to come to grips. Gas is $3.20 a gallon for 87. I wanted at 267, but it's not. It's at 320. I got to live with it.
Yeah.
The interest rates are where they are, and if they come down, you can take advantage of it by refinancing. But I think here in New Jersey, there's so much. They say it's densely populated. There's a lot of people that are ready to get out. Not as a bad state, but they're just ready to get that equity and go
somewhere else. Start their the next chapter.
Start their next chapter, and then at the same time, when we bought our home, we had a realtor in New Jersey. Can I give her a plug?
Sure.
Roberta Baldwin talked to us about how the waves of real estate happen. The condo market, when kids are first getting out of college. Not the ones that are recent college graduates, ones that have been out of college for a while. Now they're in the condo market. Then they settle down and get married. Now they're in the house, they're house shopping. So it's a stepping thing. And then you've been in your house for 20 years. You're ready to take your equity and roll. So we're in that cycle right now.
Mm-hmm.
Between now and, it's almost spring. Between now and I think June, July, I think we're going to see a lot of lift. And, people do want to stay in the state. The state very well. Sometimes people would sell a home in Homedale and move to Colts Neck or move down here closer to the shore. But, movement is what keeps not us, but the realtors, the mortgage bankers,
title,
insurance, everybody keeps all of us going.
That's the ecosystem.
That is the ecosystem. Yeah.
And especially here, right? Because we have such a low inventory, people are basically recycling, right?
Yeah.
If you think about it, and that business in 2023 essentially stopped with the, increase in interest rates and so on. And so all those auxiliary businesses such as the, real estate, the handymans of the world, general contractors, you name it, had to sit tight for a while, and so now we're seeing the green shoots for 2024. We won't talk politics except for a little bit, but if someone wants to get back in office, they know that they have to make that change in order to truly drive middle America, and that's what we're talking about.
Yep.
And the first-time home buyer, like I said, the person that's in their 20s or early 30s that's done all the right things, that's ready to stop renting. But again, that may have changed. I don't have all the answers. I see that corporations are buying homes now.
Yeah.
People are renting homes.
Or staying at home.
You have a lot. The market's different now than it was 15, 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
I was ready to buy my first home young. And know that I was doing those stepping stones, like your realtor said to you, I bought a condo. I bought a co-op first, then I bought a house that had a mother-daughter type house. So I had a renter. So it was better for me. It was better than the condo because it was a home, but I was able to get a little bit of supplemental income because I was a young buyer. And then I bought my own home, and then from there I just kept going.
Yeah. And that's how it works here in New Jersey. We're beneficiaries of that. We started in a condo, sold that, took the equity, bought a home.
Yeah. I always say you got to get in the game. You have to get in it. It's hard to jump in, but once you're in it, it makes that next move easier.
Correct. Yeah. And in the right conditions, market-wise, interest rate-wise, economic-wise, I would consider moving again. You know. So it's happening. It's unpredictable. Last year, particularly with the housing, we spoke to a lot of people, some very smart people, and no one got it right. No one knew. Everyone all the predictions fell flat. Yeah. So it's day to day.
Yeah. So we'll start this year, and hopefully the predictions are better.
We're in a good spot. We want to be in a better spot, but we're in a good spot to build right now.
Good. Yeah.
And I would say, Mr. Handyman was a lot of lessons as well, right? Because, the two businesses that we bought previously were independent, right? We bought them from individuals.
Sure.
This was a franchise model, right? That was very different and unique to us. In a lot of ways, it's, back to corporate America where, you know, you have your own business, but you're feeding things.
The structure.
Yeah, the structure, the operational model is coming from, you know, from a corporation that owns the brand, the marketing, the sales, etc. So it was certainly, you know, I would say a lesson in regards to, you know, buying a franchise versus buying individual businesses. And, you know, I think there's one for everybody, you know. If you're someone who can run and do and figure things out, and you don't need someone to hand it to you on a piece of paper and go, this is what you do, A, B, C through Z, then an independent business is great. If you're someone who, you know, I just need to be told what to do, I can run it, but I need it written down, then guess what? A franchise model is for you. Now that we've done, you know, we have our opinion on what works and what doesn't work, but I do think if you want to be a business owner, there is a model for you.
Totally. I think franchise versus independent versus starting versus buying existing, it depends on the person. And you know, I think you almost need, like, and I don't know that anyone does this, but maybe this is a new thing we could work on together. A personality test for business owners. Because when you think about it, like, let's go start it from the beginning. Let's hustle. Let's figure out. You guys come in and say, hey, I like the formula of just buying a business based on current cash flow. Come up with a formula and do it. And I think in the future, that's something that I'd be more inclined to do. When I started Wingman, I started it, you know, and it was like, I'm just going to do it better. I was working in corporate America, and I thought I could just do it better. I could help contractors. I started with contractors. I could help them. I could help them do better. They started using my services. Then they said, can you build me a website? Can you do this? Can you do that? And everything. They came to me with the things that they wanted. I didn't really have, you know, a menu of
strategy
options.
Team
I was a one-man show. I said I could do it better, and I could do it better than what I was doing in the corporate America. Corporate America, one thing, it gave me discipline. It gave me structure. It gave me the fact that you have to start your day at a certain time. And you have to be there, and you know, you have a reporting structure, and there's a team, and you don't just call the CEO of the company and say, this is what I think. You go to your manager. Your manager goes to their manager. And, you know, that's the beauty of corporate America, is learning how to work within the boundaries.
Correct. But sometimes you may disagree, you know.
I could disagree with the boundaries, but you
still
go with it.
You still respected the boundaries.
Exactly. Absolutely. You got to have, you know, you got to know chain of command. But
then I go into my own business and I say, I could do it better. I remember, you know, it's like, I liked corporate America, and I was moving fast. Like, in retrospect, like, it would have been a much easier life for me. You know? A direct deposit just hits the account.
Say high risk, high reward. You know, look at you now, right?
Now you got it all, you know.
So, you know, and there was something, you know, there are days that I still work a lot of hours. So, you know, I look at it, but, like, you know, on the other side, as I said, I could do it better. And I started working with a couple guys. And then my whole goal was, as long as I could just replace, like, my income, we're good. And, you know, we're doing. And the customers would say to me, can you do this? Can you help me with this? And again, a lot of small business owners don't have a marketing team.
Right.
So now I come in and say I'm Wingman. And they're like,
that's great.
They're great.
We need you, because guess what? You're doing the thing that I don't know how to do.
I don't have the time.
Right.
I don't have the time to do. And again, when you prioritize time, it makes sense. So, you know, the customers kind of dictated to us what they wanted. And then I just started building a team to help me manage that. Again, I never thought, like, you know, we would have 2 offices and 20 employees. I always thought I would work from home. I would just find people like yourselves who needed help and just help them. And as time went on, I realized I had to grow to meet the expectations. And now everything's about delivering quality products on time, on budget. Like, to me, that, and again, that's kind of where the structure now the corporate structure now comes back to me, is we can't just wing it anymore and just kind of, hey, you know, we'll be there tomorrow. Like, but if we got to be there tomorrow, you got to do everything. So that we've learned that along as we grow.
One of the first books that I read about owning your own business was that you can work on your business or you can work in the business. And
the E-Myth?
Yes, exactly. And that book, I'm telling you, it revolutionized the thought about how I thought about it. Because guess what? People who, let's say if they're a baker and they love to bake, but guess what? That doesn't make you a business owner. You know, guess what? I know how to drive and teach lessons, but I don't want to do it.
I saw
want
you
to
driving in the parking lot. I beg to differ that question.
My point is that you have to have teams to do things that they are good at,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if you are only solely working in the business, there's very little way that you're going to be working on the business and thinking about where you're going to drive it 5, 10,
I couldn't
15
agree
years
with you more. Now, I'm going to give you a recommendation. We're going to give a shout out to Aaron Levine at LG Insurance, who was on a few weeks ago. I don't know if you saw him, but he recommended a book to me, Who Not How. And I recommend that you download it on Audible or read it. It is I think the next step in the E-Myth.
Yeah.
So the E-Myth is for the business owner who's just starting, and it teaches you how to not work in the business but work on the business. But I think Who Not How, I think you'll really enjoy if you like the E-Myth, because it talks about finding the right key players for different positions and how you don't need to, that person's the subject matter expert, and that person's going to help you become to do those tasks that you need. And again, everyone has the who's that they need to help them grow.
And I would tell you, I always say God takes care of babies and fools. We knew nothing about owning a business, purchasing a business, how do you even price a business? I mean, we knew nothing. And I started doing some research when we decided we wanted to purchase, and they were like, well, you need a good business attorney. I'm like, well, who's that? How do we figure that out? And I started Googling, and there were 2 business attorney firms that came up. I sent them both 2 emails.
Yep.
The first one that came back to me has been in business 40 plus years. He is the #1 business attorney in the state.
Wow.
And in New York. And
so that's a
I
good
would
guy
say
having in your corner.
having our corner. And he has, when I say saved us on so many things when it comes to owning, purchasing, buying, and continuing. And so when you need expertise, accountants, go out and get it. It'll be worth it, even if you think you can't afford it, because they will save you in the long run.
100%. If you don't know it, it's not your skill set. It's not in your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So you're trying to do something, and again, you're putting your time into it. So you're saving dollars, let's say.
Yeah.
Yes.
If all things are equal, you're saving dollars, but you're using your time. Well, that time could be spent doing what you're good at.
Right.
And you're not an expert in that area.
Yeah.
So, it's like doing your own payroll versus using a payroll processor.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
To save,
Yeah, and then you don't know the tax piece of it or the filings that have to happen, And,
the 940s.
Yeah, when we had COVID and you were applying for all the loans, PPP, etc. Guess what? ADP spit out all the reports. We didn't have to do anything, and then when you had to prepare and say how did you prove it? You had the information right there, and so having that saved a lot versus
hours.
people who were struggling with that. I know a lot of people who work for themselves that didn't have the background or the proof that they actually were in business, so they couldn't get those loans. They weren't eligible for them.
Yeah, so they're in line for the 3rd or 4th round of PPP if their business was still open.
Yeah.
Had they had structure, the foresight to say, hey, I've got an accountant, you got some professionalism within the business. So when they said, hey, we have a grant here, we're giving away $1,000 per employee. Is this a grant? Is not a loan? A lot of that was happening here in the state. But it's, hey, we need these 10 documents. Do you have them? The filing opens at 8 o'clock. If you didn't have it, the organized professional with accounting and HR, you didn't have the documentation, you missed out.
Totally. I think that's key to success, is building the right team around you to help you grow, because again, you don't know everything. And even in my world is the marketing world. Things change every day in that.
Oh yeah.
So things change with the tax code. Things change with the the legal system. There's regulation that comes in and out of play.
All the time.
That's going to change how everybody does business. So those are the kind of things where I think it's hiring the right team that get you that next level.
Yeah. And it's worth every penny. It really is. Even though it feels like you don't have it, but your business will benefit from it exponentially.
Agree. So you have this portfolio of companies. One thing we didn't talk about is your travel company, Citra Travel.
Yeah.
Now, if I spell Citra backwards, what do I get?
Yeah. So, Artis is
get
our
Artis.
last name, and glad you figured that out. But we talked about that before. We do have a portfolio of brands or businesses. The first was Citra Development, which owns the driving schools. The second is Citra Enterprises, that owns Mr. Handyman, and then Citra Travel. And it really started as the ideation session when we realized we were going to buy a business and we needed to have a business to purchase an actual, it was like, okay, well, what are we going to do? And then, we saw Oprah and Harpo and, and then we said, well, what about our last name? And we looked at it. And then when we went to see what it meant sun in Greek and Arabic. And so with that, we were like, well, who doesn't want to look to the sun in order to make sure you grow and drive and develop your business? And so it had a lot of meaning for us. And so with the travel business, as you know, you've developed our branding for it. It has a sun and a medallion all in it, as well as the world.
Did the logo.
Yeah, so
I love the logo.
Yeah, it's amazing, And that was ideation sessions, going back and forth and thinking about, well, what does this mean? What does it look like? What do you want to represent? And so the travel business is the one organic business that we have, and Anthony talked about that it's group related, but it started out similar to your wingman planning, where I was creating trips for my family and friends and was working with a travel agent. And after a while, I ended up doing all the work. And she said, you're really good at this. You should probably, come on and do it yourself. And so I worked with her for 5 years. Anthony worked with me, and we learned the trade. And then when COVID hit and she wasn't able to service our clients the same way, she said, this was never going to be forever. It's time for you to fly the coop, test your wings, so to speak. And that's how Citra Travel was born.
I love it.
So yeah, it's fun. We like to travel. We really got into it for the perks. Yeah. To be quite honest with you, but the perks are great. But servicing other people is great. Like last year, we talked about 2023. People travel.
Yeah.
They were locked in.
They may not spend on their home, but they spend on travel.
The travel people would pay whatever. She was pricing out, and the pricing. I think you did like that trip you did for Ty, and what was it?
In Dion.
What time? What?
They went to Turks and Caicos.
Turks and Caicos. So here's a trip that came out in January. The pricing of February of 2023 was $14,000.
Yeah.
By the summer, things are normalized. That same trip was like $28,000.
Yeah.
So travel partners gave significant discounts at the beginning of 2023.
Yeah.
And they went away mid-year. As we look at this year, as I'm going back to corporate America, my director would say the 5 P's: proper planning prevents poor performance. And there are 5 P's of travel. People, if you plan ahead, you can get the best hotels at the best rate, the best room, the best flights. But when you come a month in advance, a person that wakes up in June and wants to go to Italy in July, August, it's going to be tough. You're going to pay premium. You're not going to get the best hotels, best hotel rooms, very thin. And you're going to pay a significant premium had you looked at that trip in January or December.
Sure.
Like right now as we sit in February, if you want to go to Europe, you need to be like, this week is the week that you really need to be solidifying that, because it's going to get super expensive as we get into April, May time frame. So to help clients understand that, she does a lot of groups. She's working with a lot of groups right now, and the groups that have the success that start early, that are working now for trips that are happening in June and July. They're doing it.
Yeah, we started those last year. Yeah,
some of them started last year, actually.
Wow, that's crazy. I'm not as good
Yeah,
with a
but
planner.
you get the best rates.
Yep.
You get the the best seat on the plane. Everything is much cheaper.
Yeah. But I think also travel has changed, right? I think people used to do it, and they still do, right? Do a lot for themselves. Go online. Hey, I can do this. I can go online. I can do it. Where where a travel agent comes in is that we help to, and our services are free to most of our clients. And so a lot of people don't realize that the way we get paid is through the vendors that we use. And so having relationships with those key vendors is really important, because we're going to recommend the things that make sense and work for us. If you've done well for our clients, guess what? We're going to do well for you. And so a lot of people think, I could just do this myself, and then they get stuck. I had someone who called me. She had spent 10 hours online looking for an all-inclusive in the U.S.
They don't exist, do they?
They don't exist. Exactly. So she talked to someone in the office who, she was like, she knew he traveled a lot, and guess what he did? He referred her to me because he, I've done all his trips. And so once I said, it doesn't exist, she said, wow, if I had just spoken to you, I would have saved me 10 hours of my time. And so
what's your time worth?
You, exactly. Why not let someone do it for you?
Especially someone's got the experience that you would, again, you knew that.
Yeah.
That's
it was
funny.
It was the second thing that I said to her, and she was like, I realize that now.
So planning ahead, you get in jams, that sometimes you're like, okay, I just want to get away.
Yep.
If you're going to jump in your car, and we have done that, we'll jump in our car and drive to Cape Cod on the spur of the moment. But even then, we don't get the best. It's like slim pickings, when you say in August.
You want to get away for a couple of days? You just do it.
Because even we don't frequent Martha's Vineyard, for example, but most of the people I know that I've talked to, they already have their lodging secured. They secured it, many of them in October of last year.
It's like
before they left.
It's like the rentals here in Belmar and Manasquan. People are renewing them when they leave on that Saturday that they're leaving. They know when they're coming the next weekend. A lot of people like that. Especially corporate American people, they like to take the same week every year. They like to do.
They'll come back. They'll see some of the same people that are there.
But if they start looking for that in a couple of months,
it's not going to be there.
It's not going to be there.
Yeah.
And if it is available, the rate is just unbelievable.
And I would say it's probably the one business that, as a passion project, that has worked. We talked about that earlier about, if you're the baker, you have to work on the business as much as in, or you have to hire other bakers in order to work for you, in order for the business to grow and develop. This has been one that I've enjoyed. And one of the shifts that I had to make was, not every trip I plan do I go on. Right? Because otherwise that limits how many you can only go on so many. So guess what? Once I
think you have 3 other businesses to cover that one.
Exactly. So that was one shift that I had to make, was that I am planning for people that I may not know, trips that I will never go on. That's what helps and grows and develops a business. Now I've become the producer, not someone that says, okay, I'm planning this for me.
So what's next in the portfolio of companies?
We're in this expansion mode. I think with the driving schools, we had talked to you, Wingman Planning. You guys, you're great to talk to business-wise, strategize with. New Jersey, the area very well. So we live in Essex County. We had talked to you years ago. Hey, we may want to expand there. You looked at some marketing data. Because we have public transportation. Kids, the 16-year-old in Orange or Newark is not chomping at the bit to get their permit.
It's not like in Howe.
Right.
They are ready to go at 15.
And they may not even have access to a car either. So it's not a priority like here, where it's a rite of passage, right?
I had my permit on my birthday of my 16th birthday.
Exactly. It's something that everyone has and does. And, what's nice about where we are is that we're in the largest public school, high school district in the state of New Jersey, with 7 high schools and about 15 feeder vocational schools. So it's a great place to be. But as Anthony talked about, there's some changes coming that help us to say we see more coming on the horizon.
Which because it will affect anyone. There's a legislation going into effect. It'll affect anyone under 21 with respect to having to prove they've had a certain amount of hours of driving prior to getting a license. So it's not going to just affect 16, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, where the state's going to say, okay, you passed a road test, we need to see your log that you've done 50 hours of driving, that you've done 10 at night. Now, we're not going to start doing 50-hour services, but we can start to give some program to chip away at it.
Yeah.
You know, we do 6 hours for the 16-year-old. We'll do that for the adult. Maybe it'll be an 8-hour program with 2 hours being at night. Something to get them started. But in Essex County, for example, the 17, 18, anyone above 16, they sit on the fence because, hey, I got Uber, I got, buses, trains, and I don't necessarily need to go out and get my license right now. And then if they do at 20, they get the permit.
Much harder.
They haven't driven any. They go past the road test and they're out here on the road. It's a public safety hazard.
Oh, yeah.
So the state is saying we want to reduce the amount of accidents.
It's a good idea.
To make sure from between the permit stage and getting a full-fledged license that we know that we've got baseline, not just for 16-year-olds, everyone under 21. And that's going to open up, certainly will open up here, but in the market that's closer to where we live at, and there's a bigger population there, it's certainly going to open up a lot of opportunity there, and that's where we're looking to go next with that.
All right.
The other thing is, I think, just like you, I think real estate is in our future. We want to look at businesses don't have to necessarily be managed on a day-to-day basis like what we have now. Because right now what we have is pretty management. I think it's great that, Jeans and Hal have done so well that they're a machine, right? They work very well. Mr. Handyman, we have to spend a lot more time with, and travel, obviously it's based off how many customers we have. So I also think our next opportunity could be in, I don't want to say passive, because there's no such thing as passive income, but we do think that the real estate market could be our way of broadening our portfolio without adding time-intensive things.
There you go.
And use leverage Mr. Handyman
to do some of the work.
Exactly.
Some of the maintenance. So it's so crazy because I can't wait for interest rates to come down to look at that opportunity.
Right.
Sure.
If I want the multi-family home or a small little apartment complex, now is the time to start looking at that. And geographically, it's like where should we make that investment?
All right, you guys got a lot going on. I think it was great to have you guys today.
Thank you.
I don't know how to do this fast, but tell people where to find you. So give them. Why don't we just do since you have 4 businesses, give them 4 websites.
Okay, all right.
And then they can find you on Instagram and everything from there.
Okay, HalDrivingSchool.com. So HalDrivingSchool.com, JeansDrivingSchool.com, MrHandyman.com, CitraTravel.com.
You're the first people that I brought on that had 4 businesses.
Wow.
So, but I'm glad that you came on. I love what you guys are doing. I like this portfolio company. I like to see it. I look forward to seeing the expansion in the businesses and you guys. And
well, I think Wingman, has been our true wingman, right, in all of this, and so we have benefited from your leadership and team. So we couldn't have done it without you.
Thank you. So you guys have a great day. Thanks for coming in.
All right.
And I look forward to everybody getting to hear this.
Very good. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.